Good morning. I'm Carlton Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church right here in Beaumont, Texas. And we're here on what's happening in our neighborhood. And today my special guest is Sheriff Zena Stevens. Welcome, Sheriff.
Welcome. I feel like I don't need a welcome. I'm an honored guest here. I'm always here.
That's right. It's always good to have you come back to talk about what's happening in the Sheriff's Department. So tell us what's the latest and greatest going on right now.
Well, we've got a lot of exciting things happening. You know, I've been the sheriff a little over 3 years now, and so most of the things that I promised, that I said that I wanted to do, we've accomplished. But I set the bar pretty high, so we're still, trying to make some changes and make things better for our community.
Now let's let's digress a little bit and go back 3 years ago, because you were the first African American female to become sheriff.
In the whole big state of Texas.
In the whole big state of Texas.
Yes.
I mean, you made history.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
So I like to think we made history.
Yeah.
I didn't get here by myself. First of all, I had a lot of, valuable people in my family and in our community whose shoulders I stand on, and I still stand on it. And so I don't take that for granted. My grandparents and other people who I know lost their lives, so I could have the opportunity to be sheriff. I can remember hearing stories about how my grandfather felt about law enforcement. And how he was treated, as a young man growing up, shortly or during the civil rights movement, and so, it's a big deal. I don't take that responsibility lightly. I also know the responsibility and understand the responsibility that as I move around the community, and not just our community, how important it is to other people when they see me that I'm the sheriff.
Yeah.
For young people, it's the possibility. That they can have jobs like this.
That's good.
But also, Pastor, I think the responsibility that, when the African American community thinks about sometimes how it's treated by law enforcement, I give them hope. And I didn't realize that responsibility, I think, initially when I ran for sheriff. But, again, as I move through communities, I hear that a lot. Wow.
So now you've been in law enforcement for how long now?
You would have to ask me that.
It's been a long time.
30 years.
30 years?
Yeah, 30 years.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and so when I think about that, and it's been fun. I've learned a lot, and I wouldn't do anything else. I've had the opportunity to do some other things, and I enjoy my job, and I enjoy making a difference in this community, and I think that's why I enjoy my job.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about the Jefferson County Sheriff Department. Now, you make it a priority to have community-oriented policing.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
So I don't even call it community-oriented policing. I think that's a catchphrase that a lot of law enforcement agencies use. I don't like to be superficial. I think our responsibility as law enforcement officers is we should be engaged and ingrained in the community every day.
Yeah.
And so I joke with my guys and my girls, and I tell them I'm gonna take those the tin off the windows and the radios out of the car, and and make them get out. And so one of the things that we do is if we're not going to calls, if there's a soccer game, get out and go meet the people.
Ooh.
Just today before me arriving here, we were at all my command staff. We were at Babe Zahari is participating in an event that we do every year with Special Olympics, pushing kids and making sure that they're safe and that they're having fun.
Right.
And I just think, people in the community need to see us, not just my patrol officers, my command staff. I think we have a responsibility in our community.
Everybody in the office.
All hands on deck. I'm never in the office, so I expect the guys and the young ladies who work for me to be in the community. And so it cuts down on rumors. If people have questions, they see you, they can touch you, they can feel you, and they can ask you those things.
And it allows the young people to see you not just as a police officer, but as somebody that they could touch.
Right. And people often ask me why I don't wear a uniform all the time. I wear a uniform sometimes, but I also know that uniforms are intimidating to some populations. And so I like them to see me in blue jeans and, or a dress. I go out into neighborhoods and I touch people and I talk to people and they know that I'm vulnerable just like they are.
Yeah.
I'm a human being. I have children. I have a husband, and all the problems that you have, we run out of bread and milk just like everybody else. And so I want them to see me in a grocery store.
Hey, now mention that, I seen you guys at Papados the other night, and you were enjoying yourself. I say, look, the sheriff, I'm about to go lock her up for dancing out there.
But I think that's important, and I think it gives a human quality. you know, we cry. You know, my house got flooded in the storm. I'm homeless right now. And so I think those are important things that people in our community need to know about people that they vote for.
Yeah.
We're not robots.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's talk about interdictions, the traffic units, the freeway traffic, and all the other things that go with that.
So I'm very proud of those. You know, we get a lot of drugs off the highways.
Yeah, I-10 is a major thoroughfare.
It is. And so what we figured out, though, a lot of the drug traffickers have figured out we work that highway really hard. And so they're using some of the other highways now. And so,
wow.
But because I'm a county sheriff with 975 square miles of roads, we're working all the roads. And so we've been fortunate enough to start to stop some of the folks and get money and drugs off those highways. And what people don't understand is a lot of times we'll stop a vehicle and they say, I don't know how that money got in the car. And so when they do that, we get to seize the money. And it's uncontested. We go through a process with DEA. And we get to keep the money and use it for law enforcement purposes here in our community.
So, okay, so let's just say, I'm going to throw a number out there, $100,000 is found in the car. And they say, I don't know how this got in my car. And so you seize it. So how much of that money goes to the county to help you with law enforcement?
The majority of it. Now, if we have a task force, and so if somebody else is in the car that's a member of that task force, we'll split it with them.
Gotcha.
If DEA works the case with us, we'll give them a percentage, but the large percentage of that money goes to us. And we've been really blessed and lucky to get quite a bit of money. And so we've used it for some of the toys that people see in our community.
Yeah.
That we use, again, to enforce drug laws. Or, you know, even when we go out to the schools, we'll buy stuff for the kids and stuff.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
We spend a lot of time community engaging, you know, and letting the kids see our big tanks and stuff.
Right,
and we give
right,
the kids giveaways and stuff. And we tell this story about, you know, we'll take your car. If you're selling drugs and we stop you, we're going to seize your car. We're going to seize all the money that you earned, you know, and it's been an asset to our community.
So the new cars, equipment, things like that, that some of that is derived from the drug enforcement that you do on the highways.
I have, since I've been sheriff, I've taken probably $250,000 a year of that money to buy police cars.
Wow!
So the county doesn't have to buy all of our police cars.
And that's a good point to make right there, because you have a budget that comes out of county resources.
Right. Our budget is about $42 million.
$42 million
a year, and so
wow.
That's corrections and law enforcement, and that includes salaries and benefits and all the other things that it takes to operate. You know, computers and police cars, and police cars are expensive.
Yeah.
You know, and so people don't think about that. And so this year, I think we needed, you know, about 18 cars. And so generally, what we've been doing is splitting it down the middle. I've made an agreement with Commissioner's Court that I'll pay for half the cars out of seized funds, and they appreciate that, because
wow.
that's relieving some of the stress from taxpayers. That's not taxpayers' dollars that are going toward police cars. They can use that money for some of the other departments.
Now, people don't understand how financially costly it is to operate the Jefferson County Jail.
Oh, man. That's probably the most expensive portion of the sheriff's office. Our medical contract is about $4 million. And what I like to explain to people is when someone comes to our jail, all the medical conditions that they had before
came with them.
Many of them have never had any medical or dental treatment, and now they need them. Many of them have never had a mental health diagnosis. Now they need them. So when they come to our jail, and now they're the ward of the county, we have the responsibility of taking care of them. And so we've had to do, if somebody comes to our jail pregnant, we got to take them to the doctor. We got to give them, you know, prenatal vitamins. We got to make sure that they have their monthly or, you know, visits, all those things. And so the taxpayers are paying for all those things.
Wow. Now, when people have to sit in jail because of a court, it's costing the county.
It costs them about $150 a day.
Per inmate?
Per inmate.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what I tell people. That's a lot of money. And so on little charges, you know, I mean, I'm an advocate. The county judge is an advocate. We're doing some things to try to get people out of jail quicker so it doesn't cost the taxpayer. We're trying to get some language where if they're on misdemeanor drug charges, less than 4 ounces of drugs, that they not come to our jail. It's much cheaper for them to be waiting for their court dates at home.
At home.
Because again, if they have any medical condition, that's the base price. So if they have medical conditions or anything else, you know, it could go up. If they get hurt and we have to take them out of our facility, you know, now you got to pay for an ambulance, you got to pay for the emergency room, all those things, all the same bills that you get at your house, you know, we have to pay for every inmate in our facility. And so we have 1,300 beds. When you multiply that time what I quoted you, that could be extremely costly to the county taxpayer.
And so what's the rate of incarceration as far as percentage that all the beds are filled?
Right now we're running about 800 beds.
Wow.
Different times of the year, different things happen. Summertime, our numbers go way up, okay? Generally, we get close to full during the summer. Understandably, kids aren't in school.
Yeah.
The weather's good, so people are outside committing crimes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, generally in the fall and the winter months, you know, our numbers fall to about 700.
It's cold outside.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
It's cold outside.
Now, the crime rate will spike during Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Okay.
Because families are home together and they don't get along.
Yeah.
You know, now you got everybody in one house and they're drinking or they're having a good time, and so we find our numbers spike for a couple of days during those holiday periods.
Now, are you seeing the violators get younger and younger?
Yeah. It breaks my heart. I go through our jail almost every day, and the other day I was there and we had probably close to 20 inmates that are juvenile. I would consider juvenile, 17-year-olds. And so you're seeing a lot of, you know, the robberies, you know.
Yeah.
Even a couple of violent, you know, the murders, the young lady who was shot, the pregnant young lady, that young man, you know, is a teenager and he's in our facility. And that saddens me. And a lot of it, when I walk through our facility and I talk to these individuals, these young men, they don't even really understand the seriousness of their crime right now. I think a lot of these individuals have probably undiagnosed mental health issues. I think they come from dysfunctional families in the sense that, you know, they're disassociated from feeling or compassion.
Yeah.
And if you don't grow up with that, people forget that, Carlton. If you don't grow up with that, if you don't know how to love, if no one's ever been nice to you, if your love has always been somebody hitting you upside the head with a skillet, that's all you know.
That's all you know, and you repeat what you know.
Yeah, and so that saddens me because when I go back there, I see a bunch of kids. I go back there and talk to them and, you know, try to see what their thought process is and see if I can learn something about why they do what they do.
Yeah.
And, you know, one young man, you know, I was speaking to him the other day, you know, he said, Sheriff, you know, when am I getting out of here? He's in there for capital murder. And I said, son.
Wow.
You know, and so, again, they don't really understand the seriousness of some of the crimes that they've committed.
I think they had the video game mentality that I could restart it. You know, once the game gets to the end, I can restart it and start all over.
I absolutely believe that. I tell people that one of the biggest things that I disagree with what we did in terms of society is we took socialization out of schools. Whether we agree with fighting or not, it's a part of socialization. It's, you know, getting punched and knowing you could survive.
That's right. That's right.
Handling your problems and coming to school the next day and still being friends. That's normal. That's a normal process. I did that.
Yeah,
you know,
we all
at
did
home,
that.
We played outside and we handled things and we were best friends.
We couldn't stay in the house.
Exactly.
But you better come in by the time that street light come on.
That's exactly right. But what happens now is everybody's in that technical field where they play games, and so they don't know that they could survive or fight.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a misunderstanding, and it doesn't mean that I hate you, or that I'm even angry at you.
But now I could just social media.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And
so we have crippled a generation, I think, in terms of having socialization skills. And I see that with police officers. If you look at some of these shootings that are going on across the country, I think it's people don't know how to communicate on both sides of that badge because we are a technical society. They don't think they can win a fight. The cops. And the other side, and so everybody's afraid of everybody, and so we're quick to shoot somebody because they made a move, or you know, I've hired folks, black and white, who have never been around the other race, and so while we pretend to be a very progressive society, we're not.
So how do you handle that when you're hiring new officers who haven't seen African Americans, who haven't experienced whites? How do you?
Well, one of the things that I do is I interview every single person that I hire. I sit on the interviews. Nobody gets through the doors without me and my command staff. And I ask those questions, because I want to get a feel. I ask people what you like to do for fun. It's not the questions that I think that they can prepare for that I ask them.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get a feel for who you really are. I'm not just looking for academic achievements. I'm looking for people who are compassionate and patient. And I know that one of the questions that I ask, is what are your thoughts about what's going on in our country right now with law enforcement? How do you feel about that? And so I'm looking to see if they think that the cops are always getting the bad rap. Then I'm curious about that, because sometimes we're wrong.
Yeah.
And so I don't want somebody that's on either side. I'm looking for somebody that can be I tell people I support Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So those don't have to be exclusive ideas.
Right.
And so I want people that can rationalize and think, not go to a problem and cause a problem. And it's tough sometimes to find people who, have that character trait, because, right now everybody is so politically, either on one side or the other side of the line. And I believe in my business that I can be nonpartisan. Sheriffs and police officers, I'm just going to do the right thing.
People are people.
I put Republican and Democratic crackheads in jail. So it doesn't matter to me,
What'd you say? You put both of them in jail?
Yeah. And so we're just looking for good people to go out there and want to do a good job and take care of the community.
That's good. Now, mentioning your jail, recently it's been reported that there were 2 deaths in your jail.
In the same week.
So talk to us about that, because people, need us. What's happening in the jail?
Right. Well, unfortunately, the population of people that we deal with a lot of times have poor medical care or have had no medical care. And so one of the police departments brought the first gentleman in, and we've had the autopsy report came back, and he had a congestive heart failure. And so, again, both individuals were brought in for drugs or other charges, and had other long-term, long-standing issues already.
Yeah.
We can't, unfortunately, turn people away. When we try to do our very best to screen them medically, and if they need to go to the hospital, but before we accept them. But sometimes people don't start coming down. They don't even tell us that they've taken drugs.
Ooh.
We don't know what drugs that they've taken. As soon as we, both individuals start having problems, we called EMS. We have a full-time medical staff there who performed hours of CPR, monitored both individuals. And unfortunately, when you deal with the population size of folks that we deal with, it's going to happen. We've had a great run, where we haven't had that happen. Unfortunately, we had 2 in a week. We could go another 10 years and not have any, or next week we could have. It's just the part of the population that we deal with are people who don't medically or mentally take care of themselves for whatever reasons. Many of them don't have the resources.
And so you have to deal with the mental health aspect of it also. I mean, you don't have just the regular doctors, but you also have...
and that's part of what I brought when I became sheriff. I went out to the commissioner's court and they approved. So I have a full-time, 24-hour-a-day mental health staff on our site, too.
Wow.
So we can try to, and it came in at a timely, I did it actually before the Sandra Bland Act was passed, but that legislation got passed. And so it was right on time. And what we have to do when people get arrested, we have to screen them for any mental health issues. We have to ask them that. Do they feel hopeless? Are they suicidal? And if they are, then we have to do 15-minute checks on them and document that, write that down, what we see them doing, make sure they're not hurting themselves.
Wow. Okay, so now, but you also have a Marine unit.
We have a Marine unit. And, I would have never thought we needed one, but it seems every 2 years here with the hurricanes, we utilize them quite a lot.
Yes.
They had to rescue me and my husband from our house on a boat. So, we need it. But their main priority, and most people don't understand, we are a Tier 1 area in terms of threat assessment. We have ExxonMobil here, who's the #1 supplier for jet fuel.
And that port.
Our port, the City of Beaumont Port, exports so much military supplies across the nation. And so our guys are on that water 24 hours a day, making sure that the refineries are safe, making sure that barges, are doing what they're supposed to do. Everybody in that water is protected. We also secure it by air.
Yeah, the aviation department.
Yeah. The navigation district actually helps fund our marine unit 100% through tariffs that they charge all the businesses, all based on tonnage that comes through that port. And so we've got about 17 folks out there working. They totally pay their salaries.
Wow.
They bought our boats, and so it is no cost to the taxpayer. And when I say that, it is, but not to you. It's the taxpayers being, the tonnage.
Right.
The people that are using that waterway pay for the security. We've got camera systems and stuff looking. And just the other day we had a drone out there, and so our guys were able to get to the person via boat and see what they were doing. And so it is a asset.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yep.
I mean, y'all high tech over there.
Yeah, we've got drones. We've absolutely got drones, helicopters, airplanes. We have all those things.
Okay, so now you're in the process also of hiring new people. So talk to us about that.
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit. We're always looking for professional folks. I don't just want people who think they want to be a police officer, or people because let's be honest, everybody that wants to be a law enforcement officer doesn't have the character traits or even the physical fortitude to do that. And so I'm looking for professional people who want to do it, and who want to make a difference. It is, my expectations are different probably than most, because I expect you to be in the community, to be involved in the community, develop relationships with people, to enjoy
from
what
command
you do.
staff to the.
Nobody's sitting at a desk. Our job is out in the community. You come in and do your schedules, or but I have an officer that's assigned to go to the Ministerial Alliance every Tuesday when they meet. I have people that are somewhere on my command staff every day, and that's important to me. I tell my guys who work in the correctional facility, go back there. We got to, that's the only way I know that people are being treated.
Talk to them
appropriately.
Yeah. So now. Is it only in the jail or also on the streets, the officers you're looking for?
I have openings in both law enforcement, which would be on the streets. And so when we talk about law enforcement, we have bailiff positions in the courthouse. You have the streets. You have narcotics. You have a marine unit. So those are all, areas in law enforcement. The jail would be the correctional. And so we have openings there too. And both of those, we have job security. I tell people, when the economy's bad, we always got jobs. When the economy's good, we always have jobs.
I say that too, because I got job security.
Yeah. So no matter what the economy's doing.
We always don't need a sheriff department.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is required? I mean,
well, the big thing is you have to have a license. Now, I can hire you in the correctional facility for up to 1 year and give you that opportunity to get your license, and we offer that class, correctional class.
Through LIT?
No, we offer it through the. You can get it through LIT.
Okay.
The sheriff's we have an academy. We run a police academy and a correctional academy at our shop. We do it at night for people who work.
Okay.
And so it's from 6 to 11. It's about a 9-month program for people that work. You pay your money and you go to that, and you get your license to do that. I understand that everybody. Can't go in the daytime. There are people that have to work, and so we came up with this. Some of my employees may work in that jail, and they may want to go to police academy. So when they get off,
that's pretty good.
They go to the police academy.
Now, is that where you have those little target practice? You go out there and shoot the targets?
They do.
I want to come do that.
You can. You just let me know. You let me know. We do a concealed handgun class out there as well for citizens. And I've had my Link sisters. I'm a Link, and so the Link sisters went out there the other day, and they did extremely well, and they got most of them got their concealed handgun license.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I just had this thought with the concealed handgun license and the upcoming Christmas season. People are out and about, and if somebody is gonna be a violator of the law, they could put themselves in jeopardy these days.
Yeah. That law scared me for a lot of reasons, because police officers, it gives us another layer that we got to try to figure out. Is this the good guy or the bad guy?
Yeah.
That's why I say I got to have a professional officer who doesn't jump to conclusions and who can communicate and find out, is this a good guy or bad guy?
Ooh.
I also caution people, though, when you're carrying a gun out there, pay attention. Make sure you're not carrying it haphazardly. Don't just because you went to that class, if you never practice with your weapon, you don't need to bring it with you. You know, a lot of people think, oh, I had a class, you know, a year ago, and so, you know, I'm
You haven't done
great.
anything yet?
Officers qualify regularly. They shoot their weapons regularly, and some of them struggle. And so, if
Wow.
you are not proficient with it, you should not put it on, because someone will take it from you and use it against you. You may hurt yourself or somebody else. And so, I know it's the law, but unless you're very familiar with your weapon and you keep it clean and you know how to use it, you know, just like anything else. If you know, if you don't know, if you know, just because you have a license, I'm a scuba dive. I have a scuba diving license, but I hadn't done it in like 10 years. So
Don't go out there and drown.
exactly, you know, common sense, you know, should prevail. Yeah.
But I say that because some youngster is going to go approach someone, and you know it could possibly turn really bad for them. You know.
That's the most, and I'll be honest with you, I was the most fearful when that piece of legislation passed. And I'm not anti-gun. You know, I hear, you know, a lot of Republicans say Democrats are anti-firearms.
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah.
My husband and I have guns.
Yeah.
My husband deer hunts. My daughter has a gun. We're not anti-guns. My fear is, though, when you have laws like that, and a portion of your population is already profiled, and so now I got a black kid, a young man, who fits the stereotype of what some people are scared of, and he's got a gun on, you're an easy target. You're putting yourself at, you know, that's my fear. You know, that's the reality. A lot of people don't want to, you know, say that out loud. That's the reality of all the young black men that I know.
Yeah.
And that frightens me.
I mean, and some citizen who is carrying, who don't make the right judgment, can kill someone. You know, and
it has happened already across the state, in other states, and so, you know, I just hope that people use extreme caution, use common sense, and just everybody that you think is the bad guy is not the bad guy. You know, and you know what I tell my officers when we're patrolling: is it worth killing somebody over a traffic ticket?
Ooh.
You know. And so you need to weigh the importance. Some of these shootings that I look at, and I hate to armchair quarterback, but you need to weigh the importance of what we're trying to do. You know, I just, you know, I can't imagine killing somebody because they ran away from me because I'm trying to give them a traffic ticket.
Yeah. So do you have continuing education for your officers where you show these type of films and say, okay, what would your response be?
Yes. And I'm also training them to understand that we're in a new type of society where you got Generation X, you got millennials, you have all these kids. I've raised one.
Yeah.
And so, and what I can tell you, and I use her as an example all the time, she's going to question you. She's going, if she thinks
that's good.
If she thinks she's right, because she's a very highly intelligent person. We've all done, you know, our generation did a great job educating our kids to the point that they're so smart that I don't know what we were doing. We were bumping into walls waiting for them to get born, you know, and I joke with her about that. But what I tell my officers, especially my young officers, is when you stop one of those kids, they're going to question you. And they're going to tell you what their rights are. They're going to tell you what the UCL, whatever.
Yeah.
Tells you that they should do because now they're teaching these kids, don't roll your windows down, you know, and all the new nuances to law enforcement, and that frightens me too.
Yeah, for your officer.
Yeah, and so what I tell them is, so you have to go the extra mile. The day where the old style cop could stop someone and say, you know what, I'm the cop, you just do what I say. Those days are gone.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah.
And so people want justification. I had an incident where one of my officers stopped somebody on the interstate, and a lady passed him, saw him, got out of her car, and walked back to the vehicle and started videotaping it. And so we called another officer out, and my officer told her to move on. She couldn't stop there, and the lady says, why? And she was right, why? She wasn't close enough to the call. My officer handcuffed her and placed her under arrest.
Wow.
And so she was like, what am I under arrest for? She said, I wanted to make sure that young man, nothing happened to him. And so we under arrested her.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
But I had to make sure that my officers understand that that's the new norm now. there's so many things that have happened, and so you can't stop people from. It's still America. She can stop.
Yeah.
As long as she's not interfering with your call, or she's not putting anybody in danger, she can stop and videotape you, and you can't arrest her. What was the charge? And so that's a training curve that we're having to do now.
So was the arrest because I'm frustrated with you because you're in my,
Yep. And and so they tried to say, well, she was interfering with the call. She really wasn't, because there was another officer that was dealing with her. But that officer was frustrated that she was there. And again, I'm explaining and teaching, still America.
Yeah.
People can stop, and you can't take their phone because they're videoing you. You got to expect that now.
So does all your officers have body cams?
All my officers have body cams.
So what is the procedure if someone is stopped? I mean, does it automatically activate itself, or
there are certain things that we have defaults on them, that I put defaults where the cameras will automatically come on, but anytime they get out of the car, they're supposed to turn them on, whether the default comes on or not, because they also have in-car cameras too.
Yeah.
And so if they go at a certain speed limit, I have defaults where the cameras will automatically turn on in the car.
Because the assumption would be that you must be going after somebody.
Right, exactly. That's my assumption. And
you're not just trying to get home.
if they have to, if they activate their emergency equipment, the lights automatically, the cameras automatically come on. If they get out of anytime that they're talking to somebody or getting out of their car, their body camera should be on. And I have a problem if, for whatever reason, I don't have camera footage. You're going to have to explain that to me. And my command staff, when they're not engaging in the community, we are constantly reviewing cameras. I have cameras that feed in. I can sit at my desk, literally, and watch all over my correctional facility. I have cameras. I can watch from the kitchen, all over, to see what my officers are doing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I can watch, in the car, and I do that. There was something funny that happened at the jail the other day, and I called back there and, and told them, hey,
because it's not what's expected, it's what's inspected that really matters.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just keeps people honest.
Yeah.
And it also, I also use it to say good job.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's also to protect you. I mean,
that's the main reason cameras are getting on the street, because I can't tell you how many times I had a particular case where a guy called complaining about one of my officers.
And you pull up the video?
And did a good job. And I showed, and the guy's kids had come home and told him something that actually didn't happen. And when I showed him the video, he can't argue with that. And so
the video don't lie.
Yeah, and so it could be a remarkable tool. You can't get into people's minds though sometimes and guess why they're doing some of the stuff that they're doing. But certainly, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
So now let me ask you this question then, Sheriff. So I mean, I think election is coming up next year. So are you going to continue to run for sheriff again, or
filing? So the campaign, the filing date I think is next week or something like that. And so for the 2020, it runs the same term with the presidential election. And so we still have some things that I'd like to see get done that we haven't done. I'm proud because our department is so much more diverse than it was when I started. We've got people. We hired our first Asian female on patrol. We have more Hispanics, more women, more minorities, and so I'm so happy about that.
So you're diversifying the whole operation in the sheriff department.
So important. The only way you can build trust in a community is if
you see the community
looks like you.
If you see it, if I'm looking at your department and I see the community.
We promoted our first LGBT male, and 5 years ago that would have never happened, where he would have been comfortable enough and felt safe enough to come out. He did. He's on the SWAT team, and you would never know it. And so I'm proud of it. People say, I mean, it used to be where you want to leave things in the shadows. I don't.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's about people feeling safe to be who they are.
Right. So what are some of the things that you have planned for, upcoming that you want to see done in the next cycle?
I am working vigorously to get more programs for the inmates. So I think we had to do so much stuff to get some things fixed that we didn't have stuff's in place to have programs so people quit coming to jail. So we do the basics. We have ministers coming in,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
important.
yeah.
We do GD, but I want to do some college level classes.
Ah.
I want to do more programs where we teach them skills so they can go out and get jobs. I am working on a mental health program where we stop bringing people who we know are mentally ill to jail and divert them. Harris County has it, and Bexar County has a program set up with their sheriff's offices where they have a house and law enforcement is there, but they don't get charged.
Gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha. They get help.
So the police department runs it, right?
Yeah.
And so we figure out, we get them out of crisis, and then we plug them into resources in the community rather than getting, because what happens now is somebody if they're trespassing and they're mentally ill, they go to jail and they get another charge. Well, we're just burying them in debt and charges and attorney fees and court costs, and they never survive.
Because some of us have that cousin Earl.
Yeah, we all have cousin Earl.
We know Earl is.
We all have them, and so we've got to provide some place other than jail. And so I'm trying to figure that piece out.
Okay. Well, Sheriff, in our closing moments, if you do want to tell the community right there in that camera, tell them anything you want to share with the community.
No, what I'd like to share is thanks for your continued support. Help us keep helping make the community better. I tell everybody, I do this because I care about people, and I'm having fun doing that, just making a difference any way I can. Thanks for your support.
All right. Hey, so I want to thank the sheriff for coming on today, talking to us on what's happening in our neighborhood, and I want to thank you for joining us. And listen, get out and hey, they're people too. Like I said, I seen the sheriff at Papados. She was at Papados. She was cutting up, man. I mean, she was cutting the rug. I'm like, is that the sheriff over there? I'm like, yeah, that's the sheriff.
You know what? It's so rare that I get to spend time with my husband, and so because I'm always working. So
and I think it was your husband's birthday weekend.
It was. September.
Yeah. That we seen you. I mean, they were playing a little Frankie Beverly. So look, we better get out of here. Look, again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on our broadcast.